Ladies and gentlemen, this is Chaos bringing you Game 2 of White Raw versus MMA. The map this time is going to be Terminus, and I can't wait to see what we have on our hands here. MMA is usually such a beast in this matchup, and White Raw is showing some incredible tenacity with his harass. Just kept on dropping the zealots everywhere. MMA unable to get rid of the warp prism. Eventually got a few more gates behind it and got charge. And just MMA couldn't get his game together, man. And he was just stuck on the back foot. Lost so many SCVs. And White Raw just made it look so easy. The only point of concern was early game. MMA almost sniped a critical pylon and would have left White Raw with no production. But White Raw, with great micro, was able to deflect that. But Terminus is a easy map to get on 3 bases, especially as Terran. You can essentially wall off in the middle area, and you can knock out the rocks, and it's super easy to get a ton of bases. And a few siege tanks, well positioned, can hold you off. White Raw is going to be scouting this pretty aggressively. He wants to know exactly what is going on here. With White Raw's positioning here, we can see that he won't be going for a fast expand build on the map, which is pretty smart, because if the Terran goes for any kind of drop play or shoots down the rocks, he can completely bypass your choke and really make you pay in this kind of matchup. I don't know if White Raw sticks exactly to what he was doing before, because it was working so well. But the question is more on MMA's side. How do you respond to seeing such an aggressive set of drop play out of a Protoss player? This was almost a rarity pre-patch when the Warp Prism died so quickly. But with those extra shields, it seems like we're seeing that a lot more. And it looks like we're going to see a 1-gate expand right out of White Raw. And MMA scouts that right away. I'm curious if MMA is going to try to punish this, but no, it looks like he's going to throw down a command center of his own. And we might be gearing up for a pretty macro-based start to this game. A few Marines are heading out from MMA, so they might try to shut this down. But White Raw should have a zealot out and be able to micro it. And it looks like White Raw might have missed vision on seeing those Marines heading out. And the bunker has been denied, so this harass has pretty much been taken out. One probe kind of sniped by the Marines, but the zealots here that help forward this off. It might be a surround situation here. The probes are moving in. And it looks like one Marine will go down. I don't know if it was worth it to have four probes off the line there. But anyways, White Raw does hold there. And more Marines back it up, so this zealot needs to run for its life. But the first stalker is almost on the field, which will be able to easily micro against all those Marines. And MMA forced to throw a bunker down of his own. So in a minute here, we're going to see how White Raw decides to continue on the game here. I'm curious if he's just going to go to like a 6-gate or a 7-gate kind of all-in with a robotics bait just for a warp prism, or if he's going to go for like a more traditional kind of Colossus build. I wouldn't be surprised to see something a little bit crazy here. Like I said, it is White Raw. Special tactics for life. Finally taking his second gas, which is kind of late. He may take his third and fourth gases in short order after this. He's not really relying too much on teching right now. And it looks like just MMA just on a pure barracks build right now. stim on the way. And just trying to get a mix of Marine Marauder, which is pretty common stuff, nothing too special. And it looks like MMA is gearing up to get his third base up in a little bit. And White Raw probably knows this is coming, so it looks like White Raw is going to respond by taking a third himself. And doesn't look like we're going to have an engagement anytime soon, at least straight up. We might see some drop play. The one advantage of the spawning positions is MMA has a really easy drop to the main with medevacs, so we might see that get exploited later. We do have a Forge on the way, which is pretty key, and a Twilight Council is coming down as well. So we might see a Charge Zealot play or some Blink Stalkers, but we do have a pretty early push coming out from MMA. How is White Raw going to hold here? I think White Raw needs to cancel this third, perhaps. A couple more gateways going down. We're going to be up to, looks like 6 gates. MMA does pull back, though, which is good, because I think that would have been a point where White Raw could have been in a lot of trouble. Which is crazy, because I felt like MMA had a pretty good opening to do some damage. Now White Raw is going to be able to get his tech ready. He's going to be able to get his charge finished and get that third base up. I guess MMA was a little hesitant because he didn't really know what White Raw was up to exactly. And White Raw is going to proceed to start getting quite a few upgrades on his ground army here. And I wouldn't be surprised like to see a transition into some Templar here, or throwing down a Robo fairly soon. And he's actually adding 2 more gates on here, so he's going to be up to 8 gateways off of his 3 bases. And Templar Archives on the way, so we're going to see some High Templar on the map. I'm not sure if it's going to be for like a Zealot Archon mix, or if he's going to go the route of the Storm. With the current mix of what MMA has on the field right now, either option is pretty viable. MMA really needs to see this, though. He throws a scan down, but he sees pretty much nothing. Surprisingly, White Raw hasn't decided to do any harassment this game. Just deciding to go scout. And looks like a Robo finally on the way for White Raw, so we might see him start to do some harassment with his Warp Prism. And we finally do have the factory finished up for MMA, as well as a armory going down straight after. And medevac production's finally begun here, which I'm surprised MMA has been so slow to get into the skies here. It seems like drops would be the key to handle this kind of mix pretty easily. But White Raw, right on point, already has a cannon at his main, and 6 or 7 Zealots sitting there, and Storm is about halfway finishing. So we're going to see some High Templar on the map, some Storms, and really that seems like the strongest play against this mainly Bio Ball that MMA has chosen to go. MMA does have a kind of a timing window here where he could be strong. And so we are seeing a commitment to this push out. White Raw probably will need to cancel this 4th. And I doubt he's going to let this finish. He might use this as a way to kind of get in behind MMA. And here comes the drop. It looks like the cannons weren't enough to hold this, but the Zealots move in, and they're starting to clean up the Marauders. And MMA has to pull out. Lost a few cannons. Not too much damage going on there. And White Raw getting a good engagement. I don't think MMA is even paying attention. And a great play by White Raw. Kind of catching MMA off guard there for a second. And White Raw playing so well so far. It looks like another Robo going down, and Colossus will be coming soon as well, and morphing a few Archons. So he's going to have some Storms with some Archon in there. And there's High Templar actually in that War Prism. So he's going to dodge the Ghosts here. This is so interesting. Oh, giant, huge killer drop heading into White Raw's main. Hopefully White Raw can respond. White Raw is going to be forced to come back. But White Raw is just going for it. White Raw is deciding to use the High Templar to fend this off. He might get some big storms, and huge storms go down, and he cleans up all the Marauders, and the Zealots are in the front door. I don't know what MMA can do to stop this. There are just so many Zealots, and White Raw really needed, or I should say MMA really needed to have that army back at home, because these Zealots are going to do so much damage, and it looks like White Raw should get way ahead here. And it looks like he's probably going to be able to clean this army up pretty soon. And MMA has started to lose production facilities, and White Raw is just cleaning up with all of these Zealots in the main. So many SCVs are just going down, and Colossus are starting to pop. And he's managed to completely clean off everything at his main. And GG has got to be around the corner here soon. White Raw is up about 50 food. The third base is really the only base that's mining 100% right now for MMA. Making a ton of Marines. But I don't know if the Marines are going to be able to handle all these charge lots that are on the field. 38 probe difference. Colossus on the field. And there are no Vikings in production right now. And I don't see many Ghosts anymore, so I don't know how these Colossus can even be contested at this point. And there's some fake medevacs rolling around. And trying to, I guess, protect his production facilities. MMA is pulling everything back. He has made another drop here. He's starting to actually shut down all the production facilities for White Raw. This is kind of a pain in the ass for White Raw, because now he won't be able to build anything with his gateways right now. He is pushing with his Colossus at the front there. Great storms go off again. White Raw can't actually make any gateways units right now. They're still down. And he might lose all his High Templar. And I think MMA is able to hold. And White Raw is still in a little bit of a situation here. He still doesn't have those gateways up. He needs to get these up ASAP, or there's going to be a pretty good window where MMA can just hit. MMA stuck back on the 3 bases. White Raw might be in a lot of trouble here. All he can build is Colossus still. Pylons are finishing just now. He's going to get a clutch warp in right now. That drop is coming right now. And this is probably the last hurrah here. I'm not sure when White Raw is planning on warping in here. And MMA is going to town here. I'm not sure why White Raw is not responding. And he's being dropped everywhere, though. MMA doing a great job to get back in this game. But White Raw is kind of letting MMA get back into this. He can't commit. MMA doesn't have a lot of income, though. He's lost so many SCVs. And the Colossus count is quite big. And there's no Stalker count, so I don't know how White Raw is hoping to deal with these Vikings that are going to be on the way here. And essentially, MMA should pull out here because he's going to be destroyed. And this looks like it's going to turn into just a straight up micro kind of battle here. And White Raw up about 20 harvesters, but MMA is still back into this. What a strong play by MMA. There's so many minerals just for White Raw. He's got 1,800 in the bank. Once he gets his production facilities back here, you'll be able to start pumping units. But until then, and White Raw's kind of in an awkward spot because without a lot of stalkers here, he can't really deal with any Vikings. He's got to be very careful, and he's had to make all his gateways down at the third now. It's a lot of Colossus on the map though. And White Raw is like forced to get back into his base. And it looks like MMA is starting to mine out as well. And this is going to be the critical push for MMA. He needs to have a strong push here. I don't know if this is the right engagement. Seems so close. White Raw actually supply blocked again, and the probe, the SCV ratio is only a difference of about 10 right now, so it's so close. And with all those command centers, he has been able to start building SCVs at a pretty good rate. So the longer he can hold White Raw back here, White Raw is getting so close. But the one thing that MMA is going to have to deal with is the giant Colossus count that White Raw has. And it should be able to evaporate that whole bio army of MMA. And now we're 4 probes up only. So MMA is so back into this game. But this is kind of a death ball, but it looks like, wow, another drop in the main here. It's going to do some damage. And White Raw is going to get supply blocked again. And that drop did its purpose. White Raw had to pull back, and it's just slowing him down. And it's a pretty close game at this point. I just know it's not a great mix here. MMA needs to try to delay this fight. There's not a lot of stalkers in the play here, so MMA is going to really need to try to target the stalkers while the Vikings try to take out the Colossus. You gotta try to limit the units that can shoot up. And White Raw not wanting to move out yet, so I'm not sure what he's waiting for. I think the longer he stays in this, the more chance he gives MMA to counterattack. And I think White Raw needs to try to get another expansion pretty soon here, because MMA has been able to get onto a 4th base at this point. And he is up a little bit on food, but I think White Raw definitely has a more cost-effective army. And it looks like an attack upgrade is just going to finish for White Raw, so he's probably going to wait on that. And he's going to have a pretty strong timing attack here. This is going to be a strong push, and here it comes. And those Archon in the front. The Vikings are being taken down, and the Archons are starting to do really good spread damage on them. And the Vikings are starting to get destroyed. And most of the Vikings are gone here. Only 1 remaining. And it's just going to be Colossus army against just Marine and Marauder. Pretty good engage, but... And wow, it looks like MMA wins that engagement. And this is going to be GG. And MMA takes a game off White Raw. This series tied up.